Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
Right! Start the podcast, go. Clap aboard. Welcome to Adjust Your Tracking. This is a podcast where we, two people from UK United Kingdom of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, are going to go through loads of films from 100 years, and we're going year by year, decade by decade. And this year we're doing 1995, and this is a film neither of us have seen. I think that's all the points.
That is the point of the whole podcast.
I'm Liam.
I'm Ollie. Liam's got the giggles.
And I'm no good at introducing a podcast.
Well, I might cut in one of the old ones then.
No, that's staying. It's brilliant. It's natural. People like natural.
It's natural. Natural, yeah.
I need to shut down my PhD. Hang on. There we go. Now we're ready to record.
How's the PhD going, by the way?
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's been. I've had a really shitty year with it. I've just been in like the wrong headspace all year. So
why don't you inform the listeners what you're doing, by the way? Just
that might help. I am doing a PhD in archaeology. I am doing it on. I'm an early medieval archaeologist, which means nothing to most people. But that's the period after the Romans leave, but before the Normans appear. That's the bit I'm interested in. People know that. And I'm looking at, particularly I look at Mercia, which is the central kingdom of England. And particularly I'm interested in King Offa and Offa's Dyke, which is a massive earthwork that was built in what is now the Welsh Borderlands. And I do loads of fancy stuff with computers about it. That's basically it.
Yeah.
I talk about it enough that I should be able to get it down quite extinct, but it's not. It's not. This is not an archaeology podcast, even though maybe we'll have a spin-off. Like,
did you have a nice Easter holiday? I mean, it's all a holiday at the moment.
Yeah,
but,
sort of holiday. Actually, I did something really, really nerdy.
What's that?
I decided that I was going to have a hashtag Lean Easter.
Ah, okay. I think I know where you're going with this.
And I watched all of David Lean's films.
I can join you in on one of those.
Which one?
I watched. Lawrence of Arabia was on Easter Sunday, so.
Oh, was it? See?
So I watched that. I mean, I've seen it before, but
it's all about Lean Easter.
Where do you stand on that film? Because it's an amazing film.
I think it's a masterpiece.
But it's got some very questionable things in this day and age. I mean, Alec Guinness is incredible in that film. He's also blacked up.
He's also in blackface, which you cannot say anything. You have to fucking mention it. You can't just ignore the fact that he's in blackface. Alec Guinness likes blackface. He's in a lot of blackface in David Lean films. He's
very good in that film, though.
He's really good. He's a great actor. Lawrence of Arabia is a masterpiece. I think though there's room now to remake it. I think his story, I think his story is interesting enough, and they don't kind of really get it there. Also, the story of like the Arabian Revolt at the time, or the Arab Revolt, isn't told in that film. It's a really colonial film. It's about the white man's like influence in this Orientalism in like Arabia, and actually, if you retold it now, the story of King Faisal and the story of his armies and stuff like that would be a really interesting story to tell. And have Lawrence in it, I think.
Right.
I think that might be a really interesting kind of actual angle to take it. Plus, they don't get into the fact that he was an archaeologist. He did loads of archaeology work out in the Middle East. They don't get into the fact that he was gay and very open about it. They kind of... David O'Toole plays him a little effeminate, I guess. But
when did the film come out? Like 65? Is it
65, something like that? Yeah.
7. Anyway, yeah, but I mean, those things weren't necessarily talked about.
No, exactly. But that's what I mean. I think there's time for there's time. There might be time to go back to it and make a good film. Actually,
was it still illegal in America at that point, or
in 1962? Probably. Probably.
Yeah.
But
I mean, though, the way that film's shot is incredible. Every shot is breathtaking.
It is.
You wonder how they made, like, the way they make films now and the way they've made films back then. Like, you can understand why they were probably on set for 250 days making that film. Do you know what I mean?
That's why I wanted to watch all David Lean's films. No one makes films like him anymore. Like, in Ryan's Daughter, the one set in Ireland, he built a fucking village to shoot a film in. In Passage to India, he went to the caves. They're fictional caves in the film, but they're based on real caves. He went to the real caves and thought they weren't nice enough, so he built his own caves somewhere in India. Like it's incredible. Like, and no one does that anymore. No one even go anywhere near doing that kind of stuff. And that man can shoot a train. I tell you, he likes shooting trains. So.
I love though in Lawrence of Arabia though you've got two colours basically in the whole time in the film. You've got blue sky and then white, and that's it. It's just the whole way through the whole film, and that's what it looks like. But it's amazing. It is. It's brilliant. And they really get his egotism through as well. That's what I like about it. They really do show him to be a bit of a dick, and I like that because he wasn't a nice guy, really. Yeah. So I tell you what else I watched, which I think cinematography-wise was definitely inspired by David Lean's films, and I watched all the Indiana Jones films, and especially the first one.
Yeah.
But I still love those films. Yeah. They hold up so well. I think, in my opinion, I don't know about you, the first one is the best, then it goes the second, and then the third. I think they go in order for me personally.
Oh, I don't know. I really love the third one.
I do love it, but I still prefer. I think the thing with the third one, they make him a bit more of a buffoon.
Yeah,
like Indy.
I find the kind of
his
Indian
way out
stuff
of
a little difficult to watch in the second one. It's very David Leany, the way he just shoots like the native population as just an en masse, and they're very primitive and very kind of clawing. And it's very David Lean, actually. It is. I never really thought about that before, but
also I have a feeling several of the people in the end battle are probably blacked up.
Probably,
I have a feeling.
Probably. I'm not going to take that away from them. There's a good possibility.
But I also watched the fourth one as well. Oh man, that film! See, when I saw it at the cinema, Crystal Skulls, I thought, well, it's not bad, but it's not good. And then I watched it again, and I thought, no, this is all the way bad.
Oh, I've heard some people kind of
evaluate
it, and I'm not on board. I'm not on board at all. It's not. It doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't flow right, and it might just be that those three films should have been made when they were made, and that's it. There's no and going back to it so much later, they weren't. No, the filmmakers weren't in the same frame of mind, and they weren't shooting the same stuff, and I just don't think it works.
Well, I mean, the first three films were the same cinematographer. I've forgotten his name, but he only died a few years ago, and he was 103 years old. So he was an old boy when he directed those films.
Yeah.
And but they have this really cool, dusty kind of lived-in feel.
Yeah.
Whereas Crystal Skulls is shot by Janusz Kaminski, and he's very saturated and crushed blacks and stuff. And I don't think that works for Indy. He should feel dusty, and I don't know.
Indy, I think, as you say, the first three have a very David Lean-esque quality to them. They feel like they're shot in the landscape. They feel like they really have a physicality to it. And the fourth one, they feel like a set film. It feels like more like a 1950s kind of action adventure film.
Well, I guess that's probably what they were going for.
Trying to be, yeah. But there is that difference. Spielberg did shoot the first three in that kind of grand-esque style, and not that kind of TV style, really, or close-up style.
It makes me wonder what they're going to do for the fifth one.
I don't know.
Because Spielberg's not directing it now.
No.
Lucas has got no involvement in it.
No.
Harrison Ford is going to be about 80 by the time they start to shoot it. And if they're going in with the real-time thing, is it going to be the late 70s or early 80s when it's set? And I don't think I want to watch Indiana Jones in that setting.
No.
I mean,
no, I don't.
Is he going to be wearing flares and dancing to disco or something?
Well, see, then I have to properly start critiquing his ethics in his archaeology as well. When it's around the wars, I can be like, yeah, it's fucking ages ago, they were idiots. But when it coming up to modern day, I'm like, he knows better at this point than what he's doing, and I don't want to get into that with Indy.
Because if they're going in the sci-fi route with Crystal Skulls, because it's the late 50s, early 60s, what would be the genre that they're kind of
in the 70s? Oh God, I don't know.
Is it going to start eating itself then? Because that's when you get into the time when Raiders comes out and Star Wars comes out. So is it or Robert Ross or whatever, where it's
is it maybe like a John Carpenter-esque type stuff, more kind of horror and more things, horror sci-fi?
I like the director they've got though. It's the guy James Mangold.
Mangold. I love James Mangold. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah. Oh, and I also watched Willy Wonka.
What do you think of it? What do you think of it?
That film is just bizarre. It's, I don't know, but there's that one sequence when they're on the boat, and then all of a sudden it cuts to these horrific images of giant millipedes on people's faces and blood and scream. It's so weird. It's like a proper 60s, 70s trip out, alternative movie. It's weird, really weird.
It'll be interesting when we get to the 70s, actually. 70s films are weird. They do stuff like that all the time.
But that said, Gene Wilder in that film is incredible.
Yeah,
he's so good as Willy Wonka.
Is. It's maybe is it the best he's ever been? I'm not sure.
That and Young Frankenstein's good.
Frankenstein, yeah. Blazing Saddles is great.
And Hear No Evil, See No Evil.
I was going to say the producers, but you're right. I wanted to mention one more David Lean film, actually, as well.
Oh, go on.
It's based on a H.G. Wells script, but it's not sci-fi, which I didn't know he wrote anything that wasn't sci-fi, that's my ignorance. But it's called The Passionate Friends, and it's after he made Brief Encounter. He did this, and it's basically Anne Todd is married to Claude Rains. I fucking love Claude Rains. I think he's my favourite kind of that 40s actors. He's the one he's in a lot of stuff. You'd have to look him up, but he always kind of he plays a lot of like Nazis, but not Nazis in uniform. It's like gentleman Nazi in like London or America kind of stuff, and he's in like Hitchcock Notorious and stuff, and he's got this really like solid hard edge to him. And they're married, and then Anne Todd on a holiday to Switzerland, which I've never seen anyone more happy on a plane. It's so fucking funny. She's so like smiley on a plane, and she's so happy she gets cream with her coffee and stuff like that. She meets an old boyfriend, and they start an affair up, basically. But then the film tells you about their affair they had like 9 years ago. So this film from 1949 is doing all this like temporality in its storytelling and switching between kind of almost dream-esque storytelling and historical storytelling, which I just was really impressed by, and it really captivated me. But the really thing that took me aside was right at the end. Claude Rains is playing this kind of really stiff banker type, and he's really boring, and when their affair's revealed, he's kind of like, look, you know, I know we married more out of convenience, but I ended up falling in love with you, kind of thing. And suddenly Claude Rains, this actor that I always think is like the most hard-edged person in the world, puts on this like tour de force of like emotional acting and stuff, and I was just captivated by it. It worked for me so fucking well, which surprised the heck out of me, I have to say. I'll
have to check that out. So was this like David Lean viewing Spawn by anything? Was it anything that kind of...
Not really. I kind of realised he's just one of these directors I haven't seen much of, really. I've seen like Lawrence of Arabia, and I've seen Bridge of the River Kwai, but then all his other stuff I haven't really touched. And I think he's like, I don't know, argument to say the best British director. I don't really know him that well, so.
See, I haven't seen enough of his stuff to say otherwise. But I was gonna say the only other thing I've watched, which you might be interested in, have you heard of Shudder, the subscription based like horror channel?
Yeah, the horror channel. Yeah.
So there's my favourite podcast is called the Film Junk Podcast, and there's one of the hosts on that is a guy called Jay Cheel, and he's a filmmaker, and he's got a series that just came out on Shudder.
Okay.
And it's called Cursed Films.
Okay.
And the first like 5 episodes, they focus on The Exorcist, The Crow, The Twilight Zone, the movie, Poltergeist, and there's something else, but I've only just watched The Exorcist one, and I rewatched The Exorcist to go alongside of it, and it's really quite fascinating and interesting to go behind the scenes. Well, not behind the scenes, but kind of talk not just about the actual curse of like the action, because they say that The Exorcist was a cursed film.
Yeah.
About production, but it kind of goes into the other end of it, so you actually start to follow a real guy doing exorcisms and stuff like that. It's quite interesting.
Okay.
But you get free, if you haven't subscribed to it, I think you can get like 30 days free. So it's well worth subscribing just to check that out. And he's a fantastic documentarian. Like he did one called Beauty Day, which was really good.
Oh yeah, Beauty Day's good, yeah.
Yeah, it's about this kind of like he's like the original Jackass kind of guy, and he had like a cable access show in Canada.
A lot of him jumping off roofs, isn't it? And
Well, that's how it starts. It starts off with the footage of him jumping off this incredibly high ladder into his pool, but he missed his pool and breaks his neck and almost like drowns in the pool.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then he did another one, which you probably like. It's called How to Build a Time Machine.
How to Build a Time Machine. I haven't actually watched it, but I do.
And it focuses on two people, and they're both obsessed for different reasons. So the one guy is obsessed with making the most screen accurate H.G. Wells time machine from the original movie, but he's gotten to the point where his version of the time machine is even grander than the prop from the film, because the prop would probably use like, I don't know, MDF or some cheap wood and just paint it.
Yeah,
he's used like the most lavish wooden paint and materials. And then the other guy is a guy who's obsessed with figuring out actually how time travel can actually work, because he wants to go back in time and save his dad. It's quite heartwarming. It's really interesting.
That sounds really cool. I love time travel. It's like one of my favourite kind of tropes, so I should check it out. Like, that sounds really cool. Although I'm not much into H.G. Wells stuff. I was talking about it the other day. Not really. I just find those old sci-fi stories to be really, I don't know, just racist, I guess. Like, it's always just about how much the English are very good at stuff and other people are wrong. Like,
did you see the recent War of the Worlds adaptation on BBC One?
No. The last one I watched was Tom Cruise's.
Pretty boring.
Which I love, but don't do anything.
Do you?
Yeah, I really like Tom Cruise's one.
I find that film fascinating because it's interesting to watch Tom Cruise try and portray a real human being.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious at the beginning when he's trying to be like a mechanic.
Yeah, like, you don't know anything about this.
You're not a real person, Tom. What are you kidding? I think I hated it when it came out, but then I kind of fell in love with Tom Cruise at some point. I fell in love with like old Tom Cruise, and now going back to Tom Cruise films, I like them a little more. I don't know what it is.
I like him because he's like the epitome of a Hollywood act, like perfect. What are you chewing on there? You got a bacon sandwich or something?
Mm-hmm. I'm so hungry. I know I shouldn't eat on mic, so I'm going to turn this way.
You finished masticating?
I have. Go on. You were telling me how amazing Tom Cruise was.
Oh no, but yeah, I think I was done.
Oh.
Have you seen the film he did called it? I think it's called American Made.
Yes, I did. I love that
really
film.
Good film.
Yeah. When he's the drug dealer or money launderer.
Yeah. That was fantastic.
That's a great film. I'll tell you another film I watched, actually. You will love this, and you have to watch it. The Long Goodbye. Directed by Robert Altman.
Oh, okay.
Starring Elliot Gould as the main character.
Ah.
Honestly, mate, it's fucking epic. It's fucking brilliant. Elliot Gould is amazing. He's absolutely fucking amazing in this film. The whole start sequence when his cat's bothering him and he has to go feed his cat. It's just him, Elliot Gould, and a cat is the entire scene for ages, and Elliot Gould is just captivating on it, and he's so fucking funny, and he's yelling at the cat, and he makes him some shit food with like cottage cheese to try and get the cat to eat something.
So what like spawned his career? Was it MASH or something, or was he he was in MASH, wasn't he?
I think he was in MASH, though I never really watched MASH, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing that was massive over here, was it? Really?
Yeah, he was in MASH. Yeah, definitely. But it's kind of like he's playing really hard-nosed PI, but he's really funny. He's really like witty and funny in it. Really like sarcastic, and he's just perfect. I have trouble. For years he was just Ross's dad to me. Ross is Monica's dad, and now watching this film, I'm like, I want to see more Elliot Gould.
I'll have to check that one out. Actually, that sounds good.
It is. It's really, really good. I think you'll like it as well because I love those 70s kind of PI films and stuff, and this is perfect.
So, should we get into our main topic of the day? Yeah.
So, we're moving on to, I think it's 1995. I shouldn't say I think. I should know.
No, I know. I know for a fact.
I know for a fact it's 1995. I don't though because I get confused, but I know for a fact it's 1995. So what 1995 is a bit of an odd year for films, really. It's a film that I have a lot of kind of thoughts about 95, but like the big films of that year were shit like Braveheart and Apollo 13, and I hate those films. I really don't like Apollo 13 at all. Like,
well, I watched it for the first time last year. Well, I say that we hired it out when I was a kid when it first came out.
me too. Yeah, totally.
And I was halfway through watching it with the family, and we got this weird phone call, and it turned out all we heard on the phone was. And it turned out it was my nan, and she'd fallen down the stairs, and she was really ill.
Fuck.
And we never. And so I never finished watching the film, so I thought, all right, I'm going to sit down and watch
God,
this.
that gives some associations.
And so then I watched it, and I was like, it's all right.
I find it so boring. Yeah, it's all right, I guess is the... Yeah, I don't understand why it was so loved. It still is. People tell you that it's like Tom Hanks' best film. I'm like, it's not even close.
Joe versus the volcano.
Joe versus volcano, Burbs.
We should rewatch that, because that is a weird film. It's almost Charlie Kaufman like.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I actually rewatched it not too long ago, but I'm up for rewatching at any point.
Because what's her name plays 3 different characters in it, doesn't she?
Oh yeah.
Weird.
That is a weird.
Ron
film.
Howard though, man, he just makes kind of.
Ron Howard just makes whatever script's given to him. I swear, he just falls over scripts.
Films. Like his best film for me is probably Parenthood.
Oh God, maybe.
Splash is good.
Splash is really good, especially the new edit. The new edit really saves it.
You were sending me pictures of that where they completely cropped out a bum, and it's like, is a bum that offensive?
explain what we're on about.
Yeah, so Disney Plus have either so in the film Splash, she's naked in a fair few of the early scenes, but you don't really see much, just a bit of a
just
bum.
See a bum. That's all.
And,
you see a bum when she goes visit the Statue of Liberty. And then...
Yeah, because she's a mermaid and she's come out of the water.
Yeah, and at the end when she runs off, she's got a long wig that's kind of attached to her bum, even in the original.
Yeah, and they've added digital hair to it to make it even longer, or they've just completely cropped it out.
It's so bad. It doesn't move. It's just kind of like a block of hair that kind of just kind of swings back and forth.
Imagine being the compositor who gets that job. Right, your job is to cover up Daryl Hannah's cheeks.
Imagine being a child in 2020 and putting on Disney Plus and then seeing a bum. I mean, it would
shock.
It would just ruin you, wouldn't it? Like, I've been trying to think what he's. I think his best film is Ed TV. I think that's the one I like most from him.
It's all right. I think that came out at the same time as Truman Show.
Definitely.
And Truman Show was just the better.
It's a much better film.
It's a better film.
It's kind of Ed TV was a bit precedent. If you watch it now, it really is quite. It did really kind of describe where we're heading with shit.
Oh yeah.
In more than Truman Show does.
So that's Matthew McConaughey and. Is in.
Jenna
Woody.
Elfman, isn't it? And Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
And isn't Ellen in it as well?
Possibly.
Ellen DeGeneres. DeGeneres? I can never say her name. I don't know. Woody Allen. Who am I about? Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. I don't know. I've got because I'm terrible at just looking through Wikipedia and just going, yep, that film came out. That film came out. That film came out. So I've just got a list of a few films that spring to my mind.
Okay.
From this year. So, okay, this is the first film that I think I wouldn't say I kind of talked myself into liking.
Okay.
Like after I saw it, because this should be a film that I should have loved, but I didn't, and I think I was correct in that assessment. But Batman Forever, I kind of like fooled myself into pretending I liked it, and even when I think back to the first time I saw it in the Showcase cinemas, I knew I didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah.
I keep thinking about Batman Forever. I don't know. It's really interesting. The middle of the 90s, this Batman film comes out. There's no other superhero films really that are doing any type money, and this huge film comes out right in the middle of the 90s. That's not Tim Burton anymore, because that was what 92 was that Returns.
Yeah.
And it's funny that the 90s are dominated by these huge Batman films, and Batman Forever is a big, rubbery, campy film. Like. Jim Carrey is insane in it, and Tommy Lee Jones is it's so weird that they put Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey together. They hated each other, didn't they? Like Tommy Lee Jones couldn't stand him.
Well, I think it was more the other way. Yeah, it was just more that Tommy Lee Jones hated Jim Carrey.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, who's this buffoon? Like,
why is this fucking like?
But it seems to me that like Tommy Lee Jones didn't even bother looking at the source material.
Oh, I doubt it. Yeah.
And was just like, well, Jack Nicholson did this, so I'm just going to do the same.
I'm just going to do it. Yeah.
And like, he just keeps flipping the coin no matter what, just to get the result he wants. I'm like, no, that's not Two-Face.
I haven't gone back to watch Batman Forever. I was kind of, we've been discussing maybe doing a film at the end of the 90s that we both know really well.
Yeah, yeah.
I was thinking maybe Batman Forever might be one on that list. Like,
I'll do Batman Forever.
So I'm really interested to see if it works or not, or if I enjoy it.
I kind of think,
because I did love it.
I don't know if this is fair, but Batman and Robin might be a better film in terms of it knows exactly what it is,
right, and
just plays to that. Whereas Batman Forever is just all over the fucking shop.
Yeah, because Schumacher is not really knowing if he should be doing a Tim Burton type thing in it, and he's kind of pushing towards this kind of wacky, really camp stuff.
Yeah,
but Batman and Robin has the Alfred illness, which is the worst plot line in the fucking world.
That gif you sent me was amazing, where Robin opens the door and it's a giant Batgirl. It looks like she's a giant because he's like looking up at her.
Like, where's
the way
his
they
eye
film
line?
it, he's like in a wide shot and she's in a close up.
Yeah,
it's really bizarre.
And he's looking really higher, fatter. Like, oh, why is giant Batgirl here?
Other films that came out that year. So Toy Story is massive. Like,
yeah, Toy Story.
Yeah, it changed everything.
Changed the world. Yeah, it really did. Like, what do you think? Like, have you gone back to try and watch Toy Story?
Yeah, I think it still holds up in terms of a story and.
You think it kind of looks like arse? Am I allowed to say that?
A little bit. It kind of. What I'd love them to do is, you know how they're doing like. They'll get an old video game and they'll kind of up the res.
Final Fantasy VII's just come out, hasn't it?
Just do that with Toy Story.
Yeah.
Just update it every few years with new textures.
Just run it through the render of Toy Story 4. Let's just get it looking like that.
Because I think Toy Story 2 looks a lot like Toy Story 1, but Toy Story 3 and 4 still look
amazing.
Like 3 looks good, but 4 is incredible.
4's incredible, yeah. It's funny,
See,
have you ever gone back and looked at like Ice Age, which just looks like a Flash movie now? It's so hard to make anything out.
I'm sure I saw the other day, someone has taken every shot of the child and has redone the face of the child on every shot.
Really?
Just for fun. Because if you look at that child, it looks terrible.
It's a monster.
The plot of that film is basically Monsters, Inc.
I couldn't tell you at all about
it's taking a child back home.
Squirrel that has a nut. Isn't that in it?
Well, the squirrel isn't even part of the story, really. He's like a little Looney Tunes thing that pops up every now and again, just to kind of
Scrat
away from the main. Yeah, something
yeah.
Like that.
Didn't they make a Scrat solo picture?
No, I don't think so. They may have done short films or something.
Maybe short.
But other films that spring to mind: City of the Lost Children.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Die Hard with a Vengeance. I was going to say Die Hard with a Vengeance. That is an iconic film for me. That was a big film in '95. Yeah. Like it's just it did everything. It's got everything in that film does. I think it kind of almost ruined kind of action films after it as well, because everyone just wanted to try and do Die Hard with a Vengeance, do like kind of the playing games and stuff like that. Another film this year, Seven's the same thing. Seven ruined crime cop dramas.
Oh yeah.
It just ruined is hard to say, but yeah, everyone just couldn't not do Seven after Seven came out.
All intro sequences were like the Seven intro sequence, and it had that kind of insipid green, yellowy kind of visuals to it.
A kind of the kind of preachy, kind of half religious tones, kind of creepy, kind of like
like Kiss the Girls or whatever they're called, all those Morgan Freeman ones.
And, it just took off, and every film was like that.
I'm trying to think some of the ones. Casino was a good one.
Oh sure, Casino came out this year. Yeah.
Mallrats came out.
Did it? That was 95.
Yeah, and then my favourite, Major Payne.
Did Major Payne come out this year? Did we watch that? Did we hire that out?
We did, and I copied it with my 2 cassette tape recorders side by side.
Wait a minute, what did you used to do?
Well, there was two options I used to do. So I used to get two cassette tape players, VCR players, and you'd hook them up with a SCART lead and press play on one and record on the other. Failing that, though, because some videos had like a piracy scrambler on it.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you copied it that way, the copied video would be completely scrambled. So what I'd do was I would set the camcorder up in front of the TV, make everybody in the house be quiet for 2 hours while I recorded a film. I remember I was recording Dumb and Dumber and my dad came home once and I got very upset because he was knocking on the door for ages.
Oh, man. See how difficult it used to be just to do some piracy, just to watch a film. I know. That's amazing. What
about you with 1995? Anything that springs to mind?
What we haven't mentioned, I guess, Clueless. I really like Clueless.
It's a good film, that is.
Yeah, it's really funny. Really funny. Probably a film I didn't admit to liking in 1995, but...
Well, we probably didn't see it then, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. I'm not even sure. I can't even remember when I first saw it. It might have been university, actually, when I first watched it.
I think I first saw it with Caroline because she likes it. But
right.
Brittany Murphy is unrecognisable in that film.
Isn't she? Yeah.
Yeah. And
your boyfriend, Paul Rudd.
Oh, my dream boat. Well, I don't know if it's him or David Duchovny. It's one of those two. But he was 50 the other day, and he looks 50? Incredible.
Jesus, yeah. Man.
And now he's in a Ghostbusters film, so he's even more
even more into your world.
Yeah. So right then, should we not bury the lead anymore?
Not bury the lead anymore. Oh no, I did want to say two other films actually. Oh. Sorry.
Oh, go for it.
One is Sense and Sensibility because I'm doing my Ang Lee every week apparently. So I need to point out Sense and Sensibility came out this week and it's fucking not this year, and it's brilliant. And I don't understand why Alan Rickman didn't win every acting award for it. And To Die For is fucking brilliant. The Gus Van Sant film with Nicole Kidman when she's a murderous kind of a...
That is a brilliant film, that is. I rewatched that recently. Who directed that? It's
Gus Van Sant.
Gus Van Sant, isn't it?
Yeah.
With a young Joaquin Phoenix in it.
Yeah, totally, yeah. Casey Affleck and Matt Dillon, I think it is. Yeah.
No, that was a brilliant film. I love those kind of off-kilter, kind of Daniel Waters kind of...
Yes, me too. I live for those type of 90s films that are just a little bit kind of... weirdy.
Like Heathers is kind of in that vein. It's a bit earlier, but... And as you said, like a previous one, like Serial Mom and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. But if you haven't watched To Die For, check it out. But also, actually, in that vein as well, it's not a 1995 film, it's a 1999 film, but... oh, fuck, the name's just gone out of my head a second later. Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Oh, is that with Kirstie Alley?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That's similar sort of kind of off-kilter reality to it. Which really
is that the one about beauty pageants or something?
Yeah. And
that's a good one.
Fucking holds up. It's so funny. So this week we're going to look at dead presidents.
Hey kid, you want to take a little run with me?
Yeah, I'll take a little run with you.
Man, oh man. You're almost as good a getaway driver as me.
I'm about to get my pimp thing on started. Oh, you always talking about this pimp stuff, man. What's happening?
Women so pretty, even
and I ain't afraid of no war. I just want to do something that's different. Yeah, well, getting your head blown off is different.
So then you gonna marry me when you get back?
You ain't got somebody else.
I don't want nobody else.
To the Bronx. Now you're gonna play this Marine War hero.
What you got when you get back here, huh?
What's going on, man?
Girl, come here. That's Daddy. Say hi.
I'm gonna get myself a good job.
Don't you know if I had anything to offer you, I'd have given it to you the moment you walk through that door?
So, directed by Albert and Alan Hughes, who previously did Menace to Society, and this was their follow-up from it, which was Menace to Society 92, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely after Boys in the Hood, wasn't it? So
It was,
like
yeah.
92, 93.
And this was their direct sequel, wasn't it? Well, not direct sequel, direct follow-up a few years later.
Yeah.
And
because they haven't done that many, have they? I don't think.
no, together I think they've only got 5 films. But they started working separately after that though,
Oh,
or
have
between that and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I think their last film was The Book of Eli.
Oh, is that like the post-apocalyptic one with Denzel Washington?
Denzel, yeah, when he's got the Bible, I think.
Oh man, when I worked at the video
Didn't
shop,
he like that
Denzel Washington was like the number one actor. Any film that came out with Denzel Washington in was like
What immediately stabbed up?
yeah. Like Deja Vu was rented
Oh my
out
God, yeah.
non-stop for weeks and weeks and months on end. And I don't get it. But anyway, we're not talking about Denzel.
Denzel cast. Because they did From Hell before that, which.
Well, that was after. Oh yeah, that was after. Yeah.
Which
So that's based on the
Alan Moore
Moore
book and based on Jack the Ripper. I kind of like that film. I think it's just I know it's not great. I just think I really quite like watching it.
I need to rewatch it. I remember the Elephant Man's in it.
Oh God, yeah. It was very kind of. They obviously watched Johnny Depp in what's it called in the Headless Horseman film, Sleepy Hollow, and just kind of like just do that, but with more morphine. I think, and we'll see how we get on.
Yeah, I've got the book actually of that, but I've never read it. Well, I tried to read it, but the panels are so small and it's just pure black and white, no shading or anything. It's just really stark black and white. It's really hard to kind of visually read as well as.
No, I think I've tried to read it once and I didn't find it captivating at all.
Yeah,
I think sometimes Alan Moore is, and sometimes Alan Moore's too just cerebral or just too obsessed with kind of violence or gore and stuff like that. He's a very violence against women type of person as well. Like sometimes, then it's just a bit. Okay, I'm all right, Alan. You go back to Northampton. We'll
go
just
back in your little hole that you dig in your living room, in your floor, or whatever you do. I don't know.
whatever
Writing signposts.
Whatever deity you kind of get power from, and we'll just check back in a few years' time, and we'll see how you're doing. This week we're talking about dead presidents.
Yes, not Alan Moore, not From Hell.
Not From Hell.
So, what do you think of this film?
I think I'm really glad I had a night to sleep on it. Actually,
yeah.
I think it doesn't quite work. I think it's kind of 3 films, really.
Yeah.
And I thought it was only one of them, and I had no idea what I was watching for like the first 50 minutes until I think the first half of the film. It's like 50 minutes until we actually get back from the Vietnam War. Yeah,
I really did not like this film at all. Like, I didn't find anything all that redeeming in it. I mean, it looks decent, and it's the music's all right because the music's by Danny Elfman.
It is Danny Elfman. It actually sounds a bit like the Men in Black.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
just a bit slower and a little more ominous, but.
And I also thought that Chili Peppers actually wrote that song. If you want me to stay. I thought that was a Chili Peppers original. Found out it was a cover watching this film, so that was interesting.
I learnt that.
But I thought the acting was just off. Like the guy who played the lead, what's his name?
Larenz Tate.
Yeah, I just thought I just didn't believe him.
He struggles to carry this film. He does. Yeah, he's not. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I think the story places so much on him and doesn't actually give him that much to do.
He doesn't feel like his character grows or earns what he.
Or I don't even know why I don't even know what his problem is. Do you know? Like I feel like he's kind of doing fine, but the story's kind of telling you he's not, and I'm like, aren't you? You know, why did you go to war, dude? Like
So if people haven't watched this film, I hope you have. It's basically about a young man, and I guess his 2 of his friends who are played by Chris Tucker and Freddie Rodriguez.
Yeah, and
they're kind of just graduating high school.
Yeah,
one of them, what's his name? Larenz Tate, who plays a character called Anthony Curtis, decides I want to go to war like my dad because it was like the Vietnam War.
Yeah, Vietnam War.
And he goes.
Yeah,
because
because
it's military.
we start off in like 1969 or whatever, don't we? So
yeah, and then he goes to war, and then because he's, I think Chris Tucker Skip, he kind of fails at college or at school. He drops out. He then joins him. Freddie Rodriguez, he goes to war, but he's not seen with
drafted.
them. He
gets drafted before them. Yeah.
And then so we're with them for a while.
It's half an hour before. It's half an hour before they go to war, and then it's half an hour at Vietnam.
To me, I preferred the bit beforehand when they were younger.
Right.
Because so we were watching Boys in the Hood. It showed a very opposite, different side of like a time of like a young black youth. Do you know what I mean? And how it was different to like say the 1990s or whatever. And I thought that was quite interesting.
Still kind of similar, but different. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way they show it they don't show that in Boys in the Hood, but it didn't seem to be any black and white divide in the first half of the film.
Chris Tucker actually does say later on when he gets back, Chris Tucker's like, "Oh, it's the same as ever was, except the white people are moving out."
Yeah, but the first half is a bit more kind of wholesome, I guess.
Sure. I could have done with I could have done with maybe 15 minutes of the first half at most. Didn't. My reading of it, I didn't like this film up until 50 minutes, and then I liked it. And then, like, from that point on, I was on board, and I wanted the whole film to be the second half of this film.
Well, I think that intro scene is so long.
Yeah.
So the bit where they're younger, it's on for so long, and then the war bit is on for so long. You don't really understand.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, it's that bit from Simpsons. I'm sitting there going, when are they getting to the fireworks factory? Like this. This film is called Dead Presidents. It's got the picture of their makeup on at the front cover. Like, I know this is a heist in it. When the fuck are they doing the heists? Like, and it doesn't really build to the heist very well. I love it when it gets there. I honestly think that heist scene is one of the best heist scenes I've ever seen in a film. I was absolutely on board.
Strongly
with it.
Disagree with that.
That's fine,
anyway.
But like, I was so on board with it, but I didn't feel like the film had got there at any point. And I was so
they're in Vietnam.
I hated the Vietnam stuff so much. I hated it.
We meet some of the characters. There's one guy who, for some reason, is a bit of a mentalist, and his dad's like a preacher, and he chops off the head of like.
That would have worked better if maybe there was a scene after the war where Chris Tucker and Larenz was talking about when they were in Vietnam, and like talking about the kind of characters they were with. Like that fucking guy, he carried a head round with him for a day or something, but them showing it was just stupid. Like it just didn't seem gruesome to me. It came across as really silly to me, honestly.
So yeah, and then one of their members of their unit goes to the toilet, and then they kind of wonder where he is, and then they find him, and his like stomach's been ripped open, his intestines are hanging out.
Don't they stuff a bit of his intestines in his mouth?
Yeah, I thought that was a bit excessive. And then they think, we can save him.
Yeah, they just like bandages him up and carry him off.
It's the way they carry him over. You don't carry someone over a shoulder with their
stomach down on their shoulders.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
I was like, no, that's a bit much for me.
But I tell you what threw me. So I'm guessing there's a bit of a time lapse thing because obviously he's away 4 years.
There's loads of time lapses, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a bit where he's like, him and Chris Tucker are like, high-fiving, doing their thing, and their photos are being taken.
Yeah, that's Chris Tucker leaving.
Yeah, and then it cuts straight to the main character coming back and meeting Chris Tucker, and it just didn't feel like...
Oh, I see.
Any time had elapsed. Like, it's just because it was that quick. I was like, what?
Right.
And I just found it a bit jarring.
At that point, This was for me was a film that I felt like at that point the film started for me, and it didn't need anything that happened beforehand. This film could have just started with this guy coming back from the war back home, and we would have met all these characters the first time, but we would have got their relationship, and we would have worked out stuff going on. We maybe would have had to have maybe more scenes about them talking about the past, or a couple of flashbacks or something like that. But
I guess so.
I didn't need anything that they did beforehand. It didn't help me go forward with what the rest of the film was, and I was waiting. I was thinking they would put together a gang. They would start doing small robberies. They would build up to the big one at the end of the film, but they go straight.
It just comes out of nowhere.
Almost nowhere. Yeah, they talk about it like they've been talking about this plan for ages. I'm like, no, you haven't.
And he mentions it to the sister of his girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, just to backtrack a tad, so that he comes back from war. He meets his daughter for the first time, because what we forgot to mention is that he has sex for the first time before he leaves.
Oh yeah, before he leaves. Yeah, that's quite a good scene actually.
That's all right. Yeah.
With the beds banging against the wall and the other sisters in the other room. Like...
Yeah, with their hair curlers and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so he comes back from war, meets his daughter and his girlfriend, who I guess she's got a sugar daddy kind of character. I don't think they necessarily say she's a prostitute, but she's definitely got someone who's looking after her.
I just think while he was away for 5 years and not writing to her, she met another guy and that was it, really. He's a bit of an arsehole. Well, quite a lot of an arsehole, but I don't think she was working for him.
It sounded to me as if though she's getting paid. He pays her for her to live, and in return, she probably gives him some sort of satisfaction or something. But
that was Clifton Powell, wasn't it? Cutty. I really liked Clifton Powell in this. I wanted more of him. And
sorry, carry on.
I was going to say, and the big problem for me with that character was that, that last bit where he really threatens him.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end of his character.
Yeah, kind of. I just don't think characters get a good payoff in this.
No.
This film has one of my favourite actors in it as well. It's got Keith David in it, who I absolutely love.
Keith David is amazing.
But again, I don't think
Have you seen that episode of Community when he plays the guy who built the VR system?
It's
my fucking favourite episode.
But he does have a great moment in this though, where at the beginning, where the main character's like a driver and he drives him to this restaurant.
Yeah, they're doing numbers.
Keith David walks in and he chucks him out the window, and then the guy on the floor he goes to pull his leg or trip him up, but he just pulls his fake leg off, and you're like, I didn't expect that.
It's like everyone in this neighbourhood knows I've only got one leg, and he pulled off the wrong one or something.
Yeah, he pulled the wrong leg.
Give me my leg back. I really liked Chris Tucker in this. Actually, I actually thought it really. I mean, I have a really soft spot for Chris Tucker, but
my problem with this is he wasn't wearing a skin tight leopard print jumpsuit and have a weird blonde afro.
Call me my man. Why do I have to have the broken one? Should we just watch Fifth Element?
Yeah, I'll happily watch Fifth Element.
I love Chris Tucker, and I think I would have liked to see him do more dramatic stuff. I thought he did this well. I really liked him doing the kind of spaced out junkie thing that when he first meet again, and you see that it takes Chris Tucker a while to even see that he's standing in front of him, and then when they're walking down the street, he's not doing the jittery stuff. He's doing that kind of leaning, like he's gonna fall over, but he never quite does, kind of stuff. And I just that really worked for me, and I loved Chris Tucker in this. When he shoots the cop at the end, he's so kind of just angry and so kind of almost a bit scary. I was well on board.
I didn't see that coming from that character. I don't know. Again, it just felt very inconsistent to me, the way the characters portrayed themselves. You'd think, well, I guess that's what they were doing. They were flipping on its head the Reverend character, because so to backtrack again, he loses his job. When he comes back, he gets a job at a butcher's
with Saul. I liked Saul. I would have worked at Saul's butcher shop.
And then he loses his job, and then we assume he loses his girlfriend because he threatens her and chokes her and slams against the door. And I mean, it's a legitimate argument, but and then he just happens to bump into his girlfriend's sister at a what do you call it, like a rally.
It's actually really interesting. It's the stuff the stuff I thought I wanted more from was this stuff in the 70s.
Agreed.
she's part of this thing called the Nat Turner Cadre, which is like a revolutionary communist militant group for black people at the time. Nat Turner was a southern black priest or pastor who led a rebellion in the kind of 1800s. It was a 2-day rebellion in the South of slaves. They killed like numerous like white slaves owners and cops and stuff like that, and it got shut down quite quickly. But like it was a kind of rallying point, a big kind of story that people don't get told. And then in the 70s, that was he became one of these folk heroes for like the civil rights movement. And I loved seeing that in it. The story itself is based on this team, this group of people in the 70s called the Black Liberation Army, who would paint their faces like this. They would kill cops, kill drug dealers, rob banks, rob stuff, like blow up things. They huge kind of movement that we don't talk about so much, about the kind of the more militant stuff that was going on during the kind of civil rights movement. And you have the Black Panthers in this as well. The guy giving him a leaflet when he comes out of the subway, I think it was.
Yeah,
saying,
but all that is way more interesting than what they show in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It should have been that. If even not Black Liberation Army, but if there was this feeling of this displaced like former Marines, these people that had got trained by the US Army to be killers and then just got chucked out the fucking end of it with no job and no place in society, who just got angry and started fucking fighting back, like robbing stores to survive. And if we had that slow build of them, like building to the heist in this, then that would have been a film. That's what I wanted to watch.
Because black people and like Latinos who came back from the war weren't treated the same as white people who came back from war.
And the white veterans weren't treated well from Vietnam, but the black veterans weren't treated at all.
But I don't think that came across very well in film.
It was there, but there was so much they were trying to do.
It's surface level, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. I think it's a classic second film, this as well. I think it's a classic that you did your first film. It was massive, and you just bit off more than you can chew the second one.
Yeah, massively. They try and stuff too much in it.
Yeah, and what it needed was just.
And then when the heist comes into it, and he has a chat with his girlfriend's sister.
Yeah,
and he's like, all of a sudden, I've got this plan, and you're like,
yeah.
Where did that come from? We didn't see him like scoping out or kind
what
of
it should have more been is they were doing this low-level crime stuff and being quite successful. Then he meets his old friend, and she's part of a rebellion, and it becomes a bigger thing. It becomes bigger, and that's the story was there, but they don't do it like it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. There's a much more interesting film in here that
in it, yeah.
But it just
especially because I'm literally thinking this is a heist film, and the heist doesn't happen until 10 minutes.
Do you know what I love with heist films though, which this does not have? For me, a heist film is all about the setup. The heist.
Yeah.
So like even in the Ocean's films, they run drills. They're like practicing the heist. Even in Inception, they're training for the heist.
You wanted to see him getting better and better at it.
Yeah. There's none of that in this. It's just straight to it. And for me, just
I do like the scene where they set up. I like the scene when they're sitting around the table and they're leaning out from the black, and they've got all the the coins on the mat in front of them and stuff. I think that scene works. I just needed more of it.
Yeah, but it's show don't tell. I don't know. I just would rather. I'd rather have seen them actually scoping out the locations and then they could have been on the corner and then. Yeah. Keith David goes, no, we need another guy here to be the lookout.
That made no sense to me.
I know, because they're like right opposite each other.
They're just two black people standing in a part of town black people don't stand in New York, standing opposite each other. And I'm like, a cop's going to come and ask you what you're doing. Like, at least with Chris Tucker, okay, the junkie's just standing over there. The cop's just going to be like, whatever. But then opposite him is just another black guy just standing around, and he has nothing to say.
He's got the most intense eyes ever as well.
Yeah. And the cop's like, you doing okay, dude? Like, do you know the bus doesn't come? I'll check for you. And he should have been like, oh, can you show me the way to this? Or can you... Because the whole point he was there in case a patrolman walks around. But when the patrolman did walk around, he had nothing to say. He just, he's rubbish.
And then I don't... With a heist, you kind of almost want to be in on it, knowing how they're going to pull it off. And then the joy is like, I guess the point in this, they don't properly pull it off.
No.
But
you did want to see them be successful before failing, though. I wanted to see them set up something that works, like rob a bank or something, and then they try and rob this truck.
Exactly, yeah. So
and
they
get, the dead presidents and stuff, but it goes the way it does because Freddy Rodriguez dies really horrifically. Like he gets driven into a wall. But I don't know that character, frankly. I don't.
You just know he's burnt his hand. And that's
yeah, and he loves explosions. That's the two things.
And he obviously. I do like the fact that he put too much C4 on the door.
Really cracks me up.
Blew it up too much, so that like most of the money burnt or whatever.
What was because Chris Tucker really cracked me up at that bit, and he just like blew up the door, you blew up the whole damn van. Like...
What was I gonna say? So yeah, from there, from then they kind of get caught, don't they? Like. Oh no! Actually, no. First of all, the girl when she pops up out the bin and she's just like killing everybody. I was like thinking that was a bit like.
I was on board at that point. I was so happy. She's like the thing. I didn't realise that she's the image I've always known from this film. Someone popping up.
Is she the poster? Oh,
yeah,
that bit. Okay.
And popping up with the double guns, blowing people away and stuff like that. And I don't know her in this film. You know, she has no screen time. She doesn't get built up to that and then she dies. Yeah.
I just wish that the whole film is marketed on their faces all painted up white and stuff like that. But
it's barely in
10 minutes of the film.
I know. Yeah.
And I just, like you said, I wish there was more scenes where they're wearing this, like, kind of building up, like maybe they become notorious. And,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. They start getting named for themselves and they bring people into the group. You know, like, maybe they do one heist, it doesn't go very well, and Keith David can be like, look, we need another guy, and they think, well, we did know this psychopath back in Vietnam, and he might be the type of person we're looking for. Introduce it that way rather than the way they introduce it in this.
I kind of thought they would have brought in who's the cowboy? It's the original roadie. What's his name?
Oh, Terrence Howard.
Yeah, and I thought they would have brought him into it. For
some totally.
Because he kind of he's just in it just to kind of.
He's in it to show the fact that our lead character has gone from a kind of carefree, lucky guy to a kind of aggressive man who's willing to kind of But he needs more of this because I didn't feel that growth really in that lead character. Terrence Howard himself seems a little too nice for me, and I didn't really. When he was kind of had him up with a knife against him, I was like, yeah, but you're Terrence Howard, you know.
You know, he got paid more than Robert Downey Jr. for the first Iron Man.
Yeah, bigger star, wasn't he? Like, yeah. But then he didn't get it for the sequel. I don't think he was a very good War Machine. Not to say anything against Terrence Howard. I think Don Cheadle does it better, though.
Next time, baby.
Next time, baby. I do want to say, we've been talking about him at Bokeem Woodbine, who plays the Cleon, the kind of the pastor who cuts off Vietnamese people's heads. Yeah. He gets the "and" in this, which I think is amazing that he gets the "and" in the booking.
I think it should be "and Martin Sheen."
And Martin Sheen.
Who pops up for all of 2 minutes.
Flops up to be a complete asshole. I was in a real war. Bokeem Woodbine, you will know from the second season of Fargo. He plays Mike Milligan, the kind of hitman. And he was fucking amazing in it.
That's coming back soon.
It is. It
got delayed though, didn't it, because of fucking coronavirus?
Oh, probably.
But
he also plays Shocker in Spider-Man: Homecoming, and he's also in the new Ghostbusters as well.
Oh, interesting.
So Bokeem Woodbine's ace. I really fucking like him. I liked him in this a lot, but didn't totally buy his kind of cutting people's heads off character. But
so they all get eventually done or murdered for doing the robbery.
Yeah. So. She gets shot by the police.
Yeah.
Rodriguez gets just cut in half by a car. Then they kind of try and hide out a little bit. Except
Chris Tucker ODs.
Oh, Chris Tucker ODs. That image of him with his eyes is...
but it looked badly comps over the top.
I didn't notice. Yeah. I thought it was lenses.
I don't know. I reckon it was comped over the top, but
okay. I just like Chris Tucker too much. I just loved him in this film. Yeah, but he ODs, and then the pastor starts just spreading money around town and buys himself a new Cadillac. And at that point,
they just tell you. I'd rather they showed you.
Yeah. Well, they don't have enough time left by that point.
Well, they would
problem.
do if they didn't have all the first hour shit. Do you know what I mean?
And then at that point, Keith David and Larenz Tate decide, oh, maybe we should skip town. I'm like, you what? Like, this is a huge fucking bust that went really wrong. They already knew who two of you were there on the scene. One of them is a sister of your child's mother, your ex. It's really easy to find out who you are. Like, and their first place to go is the place where Freddie Rodriguez hung out as well. Keith David's place. It's so weird that they're so passé about it at the end.
But yeah, by the end of it though, I was struggling to find out what the point of this film was, because everything felt incomplete. Does that make sense?
Sure. It's three incomplete films.
Yeah, and I didn't feel bad for him for being put in prison, because he did. Did he murder anyone? I can't remember now.
I don't think he murdered anyone, no.
But he instigated it anyway, and that's why everyone got murdered and killed. So
I think
a cop got killed. That's a big no.
I think the point about like the 15 years, but then to life is a bit much, and they would just do. And the whole point was he served his country, and they don't care. You know, the judge was just like, well, I served my country in a real war, and you fought in that stupid war. And the problem was that we didn't go on a journey with the main character enough. Even though we spent so much time in his life, we didn't really see him struggle to the point of needing to kind of build up to this huge operation. Like, we didn't see him take baby steps up towards it. We didn't see him kind of really struggle with money, even though he had that argument with his wife about money. We didn't see him really struggle. I didn't really see him struggle to even have to go to war, because he was working as a milkman, and then that's a legitimately good job, I thought.
Well, they were still at high school then, though, so it was just like a morning job.
I guess so, yeah. I didn't feel him. I didn't feel that kind of desperation in him, and it makes it hard to kind of.
But I don't think it's fair to blame it on him. It's to blame it on the scripts, because it's all surface level, and it's just briefly mentioned.
No, I don't blame it on him. I thought the guys in it were all good. I really did. I thought all of them just did everything they had.
I just thought the dialogue was very cliche ridden.
I think it's. I haven't seen Menace to Society, which I should have watched actually, but I get the impression that they probably trusted the audience more with Menace to Society because it was a contemporary film. So they probably were just a bit more easy with writing it. And when they're trying to do a historical film like this, they were probably a bit worried that they would lose audiences.
Well, I think
that
with
probably
Menace to Society, though, it's like writing what you know, kind of thing. Whereas, they probably didn't grow up in the 60s and 70s. They grew up in the 80s and 90s, which was a whole.
They certainly didn't go to Vietnam.
Yeah, so.
But so like, when it got to like 50 minutes and we still were at Vietnam, I went to the Wikipedia page to have a look, read up. And the first 50 minutes are the first paragraph of the description of the plot. And then there's 8 paragraphs after that about the rest of it. And it's like, yeah, that's where the fucking film is. Like, that's all where the film is. And it takes so long to get there that what's frustrated me more than anything else.
They could have done those first 2 acts in like 10-15 minutes if they really wanted to, because... Yeah. You don't learn anything or get anything really out of it. I do like that one transition though, where he's running over the fences.
Yeah, I liked a lot of it. I liked a lot of the shooting. I just didn't get anything from it. I didn't need any of it. Everything I got from it, I could have learned in just telling the story from after the war. I could have heard in conversations or a flashback here and there or what have you. Like, even the stuff that I needed to see because of the war, like Skip, Chris Tucker being like an Agent Orange victim. I actually didn't know that from the war. I knew it from after the war as well. So even the stuff that you need to show the war for didn't actually really explain the motivation.
Right.
And even the kind of seeing the pastor as like this, psychopath at the war and then seeing him just as a pastor later on, that was more jarring than if they described this guy and then gone to visit him.
Well, it's kind of, I guess for him, it's a case of he's just letting loose while he's out there, isn't it? And then when he comes back home, he's back to being his...
It was just hard to watch. It didn't feel like the same character.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that if he's willing to go straight and become like a pastor, why is he so willing to go along with the heist? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess everyone needs money.
I guess,
but even it's the same thing as like I was just like, the film's called Dead Presidents, and I didn't know what dead presidents were until like an hour 20 or something. And it's the money that's getting burnt, isn't it? It's the money that.
Well, it says that. It pretty much shows that from the title credits sequence, where it's just burning.
I didn't even put together the fact that presidents is money in America, because I just didn't know what the title meant, which is just me being stupid. But
is it me, or does American money look rubbish? It's just. It's so
I hate
boring,
how it's all the same colour.
Yeah.
That's what really gets me in America. Are they all the same size as well? I think they are.
I think so. Canada's got good money.
Canada's got great money. And they call them presidents, and bloody what's his face wasn't a president. Benjamin Franklin wasn't a president, and Alexander Hamilton wasn't a president. So why do you call your money presidents when you have tons of people on it who aren't presidents? America, answer me this. Yeah,
I don't know if I've got much more else to say about this film. I think I'm kind of spent. But I think, just to summarise, there was a good film in there, but the end result, for me, was not a very good one.
I would convince people to watch the heist scene, because I thought it was great. And if the whole film had done other things of that, then I would have liked the film more. But
there are a million and one other better heist scenes in films, though.
Sure, but this is another one.
It is another one.
And if you like watching heist films, this has got some explosions, and I enjoyed it.
Some napalm.
I like Chris Tucker. I liked watching Chris Tucker, to be honest.
He doesn't act a lot, really, does he? I know he was in your boy's Ang Lee's recent film. Yeah,
he's weird in Billy Lynn. He really is, actually. He was in Silver Linings Playbook, and I didn't like him in Silver Linings, actually. But...
So he's working quite consistently up until Rush Hour 1, and then or Rush Hour 2, and then he had a good 6-year break, and then after Rush Hour 3, he then didn't act again for another 5-6 years.
Yeah, and he's got a very small role in Billy Lynn's. He works, but it's very small.
Do you think it's just because he's content with what he's got, or he's...
I have no idea. I heard there was a bit of problem with the third Friday film, I think.
Well, he's only in the first one, and I think he's in the second one.
No, he's in the second one,
terms of
but
only his flashbacks or like.
Oh no, it is just flashback stuff, isn't it? Maybe it was the second film that he had a problem with. Then I think when they approached him, they offered him a really low amount of money, and they offered Ice Cube an absolute ton of money, and he just took offence to it, basically.
Well, actually, Friday came out the same year as this, so he was actually having quite a good year, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was in House Party, House Party 3, I think. And then he's in Friday and this the same year. And then he's in Money Talks, I think.
Is that the Brett Ratner film with Charlie Sheen?
Yeah, which I haven't actually seen that. But then he's in Fifth Element the same year as that. And I fucking love him in Fifth Element. He got nominated for a Razzie Award for the Fifth Element.
Oh, that's unfair.
Go fuck yourself, Razzies. I fucking hate the Razzies.
Don't you think Martin Sheen in this film, though, looks exactly like Charlie Sheen now? He looks the same. For a while, I didn't think any of them looked the same. Same with Emilio, and now you look at them all, and you're like, no,
they all kind of merged into one.
Yeah.
How many Sheens are there? Is that it?
Emilio. Well, he's Emilio Estevez, isn't he? But
yeah,
he is a Sheen.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen. Martin Sheen.
Is Martin Sheen's dad
Mr.
anyone?
Sheen. What?
Is Martin Sheen's dad anyone? It's not like the Douglases.
Kirk Sheen.
Yeah, Kirk Sheen.
Let's have a look. Martin Sheen. He's uncredited in this film.
Oh, he's uncredited? Oh, I guess so. He's really not in it that much.
Children, he's got Raymond Estevez. Because that's obviously... Estevez is his,
Estevez is his real name, yeah.
Is his real name. And Renee Estevez.
I swear I've seen a film with Raymond Estevez in it.
Let's have a look. Well, Renee she's an actress as well, and
It's the Dead Zone.
screenwriter.
That's what I've seen with him in it.
She was in Heathers. Raymond was in The Dead Zone. Alligator 2, The Mutation. It's safe to say that those two haven't reached the heights of the other two brothers.
Charlie Sheen Heights? Is that...
Charlie Sheen Heights. I want to live there. Actually, no, I don't.
No, you don't.
Like, I'm just looking at a picture of Emilio Estevez. He looks like a flipping Sheen Estevez now. Like,
he does.
He didn't before.
Emilio really looks like his dad. I always think that. Not before, but now he does.
He's isn't he doing the TV series of Mighty Ducks?
Is he? Oh, fucking hell.
The first one of that, I like that first film.
I quite like the second one, apart from the fact... Well, actually, I think this makes me like it more. That Iceland is the evil team. It's like, it's fucking Iceland. I'm like, who has a problem with Iceland? They're like the most loveliest place.
I feel bad for that one kid, though, who's in the Mighty Ducks films, and he's like a crack addict. That's quite sad.
Oh, God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, let me try and find out which one that one is. It's quite sad. But it's
bring us down. We're enjoying the ducks.
Oh, no. It's I don't know. One of them. One of the Mighty Ducks. Oh, it's Goldberg, Sean Weiss. That's his name.
Which one was Goldberg?
He was the tubby one, I think.
Okay, the goalie.
I think so. But yeah. Anyway, what would you give this on Letterboxd then, out of 5?
I really like the second half, and I really like the performances. So I'm probably around 2.5 to 3, maybe if I'm being generous. Probably maybe 2.5. So I didn't think it was a bad film. It didn't work for me.
I'm going for a 2, and that's one of those points is for Keith David, and it's deducted 1 because Chris Tucker's not wearing a skin tight leopard print suit. So there you go.
Some of those lines Chris Tucker has are so he just said them on set.
Oh yeah, agreed. He was probably one of the better ones in it, but he didn't feel natural to me. I don't know. There was
a moment when I was watching Chris Tucker in the Vietnam War, and I was like, I don't think Chris Tucker was in Vietnam.
I'm going to get me a blowjob.
Yeah.
He's just calling that woman.
Yeah, come on.
Big dick.
What's that one when he's like, before they go to war and they're just sitting around, he's like, I'm a pimp. All my family have always been pimps. Yeah. My granddaddy never picked his own cotton because he was a pimp or something.
And then he's getting
like,
upset.
There's no way that was in the script. Like,
he's upset because his two friends are off with women and he's just sitting by himself.
Yeah. I just want Chris Tucker, come back to the world. I miss Chris Tucker.
Okay, Hughes Brothers, your challenge is remake this film and make it better, because there is a better film in here.
There is definitely a better film in this film, yeah. Definitely. Even the themes, like, I think, I don't know another film that does anything with like black army veterans. I can't even. Yeah. That might be my own ignorance, but the only other film I can think about black people in American armies is Glory, and that's not even the main character of that is fucking Matthew Broderick. And
yeah.
Who?
Oh, don't get me talking about Matthew Broderick.
Well, spoilers for 1999. Hey.
Oh,
speaking the brothers. But
is it his non-existent court case for when he actually murdered 2 people and then he had to pay like $75?
Fucking hell. 1999 is going to be a good episode, man.
Okay. Is it Godzilla?
You've seen Godzilla. That's 97, though, isn't it? It's Godzilla 97. If I've pulled that out of my head.
Do you know what I was looking at our list the other day, and it made me laugh because I thought, Liam picked Remains of the Day, and no, it was on my side of films that I picked.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I thought I picked that too, actually.
No, you. Oh, I can't remember what you picked now.
Oh, Godzilla's 98. It's 1 year off.
Was it?
What else I was going to talk about? Something else. Craig David. I keep calling him
Craig David. Rewind.
Rewind. Keith David. What's your favourite Keith David roles?
Ooh, let me have a look.
Because I've got one straight off. I don't need to look up. The Thing, man. Come on.
I do like him in Me, Myself. No, not Me, Myself, and Irene. It's the other one. There's something about Mary.
Oh God, I forgot about that. I was going to say They Live.
Oh yeah, he's
They
younger
Live.
than I thought. You know, he's only 63. I thought he was old.
Is
I
he?
thought he'd been older than that. But yeah, that scene's amazing. That fight scene is like
That
25
epic fight
minutes
scene,
long.
yeah.
Just because he won't put on the pair of sunglasses.
They just keep slowly getting up and just thumping each other and slowly getting up and thumping
Here you
each
go.
other.
I'm just going to name films now. He's in Platoon.
I don't like Platoon. I was going to talk about that. I don't like Vietnam films, and that's I think my biggest problem with this is I don't like them. I
Right.
don't like war films that much anyway, but I don't like Vietnam films, and I don't like Deer Hunter, and I don't like Platoon. And when this was getting into the Vietnam stuff, I was like, I don't like this. I don't want any of this to be here. I didn't think I was watching a fucking war film.
He's in Clockers, Quick and the Dead.
Fuck. He's in a Requiem for a Dream. I remember he's really evil in
Yeah.
that.
Armageddon.
What?
No, Armageddon.
Oh,
I always read it in my head as Armageddon.
I thought that was some like Korean animation film or something.
Just me being an idiot.
He's in
Chronicle of Riddick's films.
He's in Roadhouse, isn't he, with Patrick Swayze?
Do you know what? I've never seen Roadhouse.
What?
I know.
Get it
I
on
need
the
to see
list.
it. Apparently, Patrick Swayze ripped someone's throat out with his hand or something. I need to watch it.
Community, obviously. He's the best in Community. Well, he's not the best in Community.
Oh,
That's not-
you know, we were talking about Tiger King the other week.
We were.
You know, they drops that new episode, and it's basically just webcams.
Oh yeah, it's fucking what's his face?
Joel McHale.
Joel McHale, yeah.
Has he got hair plugs? His hairline
Oh, he
is
must do.
bizarre.
John
Well, I don't-
McHale comes across as such an asshole to me.
Yes,
he might be
he
the nicest guy in the world, but I don't know.
I think he's very much like his character in
Yeah,
Community.
and that's in a good way. I love Community. I've watched the whole of Community about 8 times, and it's just come on Netflix, so I might be going round again.
I haven't watched it since Donald Glover left.
It does get okay.
Because I do like their relationship in that show. And
Yeah.
and I'm
I
a
really
big
like
fan of
Chevy
Donald
Chase in the
Glover,
first 2 seasons. I think he's so fucking funny in that show.
Who's that? Sorry,
Chevy Chase.
Oh yeah.
I think he's fucking like that guy is such a comedic performer. He oozes out of him comedy. It's like effortless. I know
the
he's a
D&D
dick.
episode's
I know he's a dick, but yeah, the D&D episode is wonderful.
You should read this book. I'll tell you what, when I finish reading it and we're allowed to actually meet in person again, when that is, I don't know. But I'll lend you this book called Wild and Crazy Guys. I think you'll enjoy it. Okay. It's a real breezy, quick read.
You can post it to me,
I could, but that... Oh, actually, speaking of the post office, I went to the post office the other day and I saw your mum. I had your mum like hid in the corner away from me. She was like, "Don't touch me. I'm not going to touch you, Beres." She's like, "You're all right." I was like, "Yeah." But anyway, yeah.
Hi, Mum.
She did say hello to you because I was like, "I'm speaking to your son later on." Oh yeah, shout out to Mick, your dad, who actually listens to this show. Yeah, I think we should get him on one. To be fair, your dad is probably the whole reason why we're doing this, because of how much he ingrained us into cinema as kids.
How much I could just go through VHS collections.
Yeah.
Wonder, what's this film?
So, we got any games today?
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. I just think of anything else to say, but I feel like I've exhausted myself a little bit. But
I'm actually surprised. I thought I'd have less to say about that film, but
I've always got something to say. I can always natter on about fucking something. I just wanted to see more of the social stuff at the time, the Black Liberation Army stuff, and
that's much more interesting. And
yeah, it really
is. It's in there, but it's so
all there.
But
and even like the Nat Turner stuff, like that is a fascinating part of history that you'd only get if you know about it. This film doesn't give you any of it at all. At all. It doesn't even tell you that she's a communist, really, apart from I think she calls him comrade at some point. But that's what I was like. I needed more of Delilah in this film. Delilah should have been in so much more.
Well, they're kind of setting it up that something will happen between those two earlier on, because his first interaction with a female is not with his girlfriend, it's with her.
Yeah, when he's delivering milk.
And then she kind of helps get him out of the house, doesn't she?
Oh, is she the one that sneaks him out? Yeah.
I
No,
don't
no,
know if
she
helps-
distracts
no,
the mom.
She distracts the mom, and
Yeah.
but she's the one who tells them that.
Talking of moms as well, Jennifer Lewis plays his mom in this, and
Oh, yeah.
she's barely in it. It's so weird. She's
The
great.
dad has
but-
the dad has one line, and all he says is, "I'll speak to your mom."
Yeah,
That's all he
a
says.
classic dad line.
And then they felt like a sitcom family though, and then you got the one
Didn't they?
son who's like the perfect son,
Yeah,
and it like the conversations families have in films infuriate me because it never feels like natural, real conversations you just have about general bullshit. It's always important. You've got to go to college, son. You've got to. And it's like, oh, it's just feeding the plot, and it's just. I know it's a film, and that's what you have to do, but it just doesn't. It just feels so forced.
yeah. There was the scenes with the parents in this were only there to kind of be them like, oh, I think he's being a naughty person.
Yeah, Back to the Future's got the best dinner scene though.
What? Which one?
In the first film.
I disagree. The second film.
Which one with the pizza?
Yeah, sure. Do hydrate a good pizza, man.
No, I like the first one because you've got George McFly going. I can't do this laugh. Been only watching I Love Lucy or whatever. And he's
Like
like,
that, isn't it?
I don't know what he's eating. He's eating some weird kind of
I can't know what he's
brittle
eating,
kind
actually.
of stuff.
I feel like I've let myself down by not knowing what he's eating. I
And
quote
that-
that. You know, the end of that film where he comes down, his brother comes down in a suit, and he's like,
Yeah.
"What? I always wear a suit to the office." I think about that line like, I don't know, 18 hours a day. I don't know why.
But that's a great scene though, that first dinner scene, because you find out you see his mom's like an alcoholic, and
Yeah.
the brother's in prison and stuff like that. I think it's great.
It
But anyway,
sets
we're not talking
all
about
the
Back to the
tendrils.
Future.
Sets all of them. Well, it's a classic film. This has been the most rambling episode yet. Right, I thought we'd do a box office game, but slightly different.
Okay.
So I've got a list of the top 10 biggest weekends of 1995.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the top 10 grossing films. One of them is the same film twice, so it's only 9 films.
All right.
And we'll do. Should we do it in? Do you want it in chronologically, or do you want it in revenue?
Do you go whatever? I don't mind. It's up to you.
We'll do it from revenue 10 to 1.
Are
So
these
number
like
10.
American release or UK release or?
It's going to be American because no one cares about UK releases.
Okay.
This is a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a sequel to a sequel. It was released. This was May the 19th, 1995.
Yeah.
It stars a huge movie star, probably maybe one of the big 5 in the 90s, really.
Okay.
It stars supporting cast and one of the most prolific kind of actors of all time. And it was directed
Okay.
by an absolute classic action director.
So it's a sequel.
It's
to
the
a
third.
sequel. I'm going to say Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
too much on that or not. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I'm saying the most prolific's got to be Sam Jackson because he's
Yes.
in
Yeah.
everything.
He kind of is one of the most prolific actors of all time.
Oh yeah, if you look at his filmography, it's ridiculous.
I don't know who comes close. Nick Cage might be another one. Because Nick
Yeah.
Cage does about 100 films a year, but Sam
There's a
Jackson
lot
will
of
do
like
anything.
a lot of the B-level action stars do a lot of films, but they're normally like straight to DVD. But they'll do like about 7 of those a year.
Yeah. Okay, next one. This is an action film based on another property.
Yeah,
It's kind of a martial arts film.
martial arts film.
It has a classic European actor in the lead.
And what weekend was this?
Oh, I didn't tell you the weekend. It is August 18th.
August.
It's based on a huge property.
Oh, I was gonna say Mortal Kombat. No, it's not Mortal Kombat.
It is?
Oh, is it Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
My dad took me to see that at the cinema and he fell asleep. I think that says a lot about how good that film was.
I don't think at the time I totally realised that Raiden was played by a French guy. Was he French?
Have
He's
you-
Belgian, is he?
Oh, it's he's Belgian, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Belgian. Yeah, Christopher Lambert.
Highlander. Lambert. His laugh in that film is hilarious. He just laughs at everything. The fate of the human. What is he? He's like, the fate of mankind rests at your fingertips. He just laughs all the time. Have you seen that the new film's coming out soon?
Is it?
And they've said, "Oh, we're not having any of the fantasy elements in it." I'm like, "What? That's like
what?
That is Mortal Kombat."
Then you're just making that Jean-Claude Van Damme film, Bloodsport, or is it Bloodsport?
Yeah. Or didn't they do like a Mortal Kombat web series a few years ago?
Did they?
Yeah, and it was kind of a gritty, realistic version of it.
Fucking hell! What? I liked Mortal Kombat when we were kids, but to care about Mortal Kombat is another level.
Of all the video game movies that were out then, it was the one that adhered to the source material the most, I'd say.
It's the one that everyone always quoted about it being a good film. I'm not totally. I believe it's a good film, but
and it had the best theme tune.
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, good. Maybe that's why everyone went to go see it.
The second one was hilarious, man. The effects in that second one were so bad. Like the animalities were.
I'll never forget
hilarious.
When Liu Kang turns into a dragon, and when he eats the other person, it just looks like two cardboard cutouts. Like,
yeah, it's like 3 frames of animation. The game looked better than that.
It does. Anyway, 9th biggest opening weekend, man. People were up for it.
He's such a shitty director, though, that guy.
Is it Anderson? Someone Anderson?
Yeah, the one who did all the Resident Evil movies. Although,
oh, is it that guy, Paul W.S.?
Although, it was decent. Event Horizon was okay.
Yeah, I'm planning to watch all the Resident Evils. I've never seen them.
Oh.
So I'm planning to go. I'm planning to dive in, baby. Resident Evil time.
Like, I would say it's a shame because I genuinely love the Resident Evil game series, but to be honest, when you look at the storylines of those games, they are god awful. So it's not like they had the best.
Well, I feel like
materials.
I never like. I feel like I didn't give them time of day because I love the Resident Evil games so much that I think I took them too seriously. But I feel like I'm at a point now. Maybe I can watch these films as just fun action bullshit. And that might be
but the
good
thing
fun.
is, they take themselves so seriously in the way that it's portrayed.
I do though.
It's a bit po-faced in my opinion. Like they're daft as all out, but like
yeah.
Anyway, sorry. What's next?
That's right. So this is June 9th, 1999. It opens up to it gets. I should say this. It's 24 million. It opens in its opening weekend. Okay. It's based on a book. It's a sequel. Well, no, it's a follow-up to a huge movie by this writer. That's why it was on this opening weekend.
Okay. Anything else? Any more?
Oh God. I can tell you Tim Curry's in it.
Oh. Hang on. Sorry, my brain's ticking. I'm going to put a sound effect of.
I don't
got
actually know.
Has it got apes in it?
It has got apes in it. Yep.
Is it Congo?
It's got Bruce Campbell in it.
Oh, is it Congo? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I was going to tell you Ernie Hudson's in it, but I thought we'd get it instantly.
There was Congo toys.
I know.
It's like they were betting on it being like the next Jurassic Park, and it's like no.
Well, that's why I thought it's interesting to do opening weekends because this is totally a product of like the marketing, and this film was just marketed as you love Jurassic Park. Well, fucking Michael Crichton's back, and it's apes now. Like, come on, come dive in, guys.
It felt like no money was spent on that film, though.
No, it's fucking boring. That's the problem with it. The book's not good either, to be honest. But I was there. I bought the book. I own that book because of Jurassic Park. You know, so I was.
If I remember, your book had both in it.
Is that right? Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it? Jurassic Park at the front and then Congo at the back. Oh,
yeah.
How weird's that? They don't ever release books like that, do they? Can you imagine if like I've never seen that.
They obviously just wanted to sell it, didn't they? Because obviously Jurassic Park was a big seller.
The biggest thing in the world. Okay, next opening weekend, June the 30th, and it's 25 million, and it's based on real life events. huge cast. Kind of a huge male cast, huge kind of a workman director.
Was it directed by Ronnie Howard?
Little Ronnie Howard, yeah.
It's Apollo 13.
Apollo 13, which we already spoke about. This is November 17th, 1995.
Mm-hmm.
This made 26 million. It is the newest in a huge series of films.
Okay.
What else to say about this film that doesn't completely give it away? It stars
A person
who you would totally get this film instantly if I said it. They're British films,
and it's a franchise. So it's
a franchise. Yeah, it's like the franchise.
Is it still going?
Yes, and the director returned to it actually, as well. The director only did one in the 90s, but he returned to it later.
Oh, I know. Is it Golden Eye?
Yeah. I suddenly realised that was so hard to kind of talk about and not just say, like, well, it's Pierce Brosnan and Sean Bean.
You could say there was an N64 game.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. That's the kind of big...
We wasted many a day, hour, nights playing that game.
Is that GoldenEye's biggest legacy, that game? Because people still talk about it.
For me, it is anyway, but I reckon it is.
I love GoldenEye, I think, and it's mainly because I was the right age when it came out.
It's my favourite Bond film, personally.
I would say that I'm not sure it's the best one I like, but I think it's my favourite.
But I think it's got a good mix of the campy stuff and then also kind of been a bit... not serious, but it feels like a real film.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like over-the-top CGI in it or... like
Yeah.
The latter-day Pierce... the Bronholm ones, they kind of got a bit ridiculous.
They go mad, don't they? Like,
I mean, I know he drives around St. Petersburg in a tank in this film, but...
and they shoot lasers from space.
Yeah, but... you sit on it, but you can't take it with you.
Can't take it with you. I do like that film. I like Robbie Coltrane as well.
Yeah. Every time I think of Robbie Coltrane, though, I picture it in the game where you meet him in you're in the graveyard, and you meet him in like a haulage.
Was that called Cargo?
That's it. Yeah.
And you have to just go around loads of cargo things until he's just standing in one at the end.
Aren't you chasing Trevelyan for a while in that level? And you get in the helicopter at the end, don't you?
Yeah.
And it blows up.
GoldenEye. Slappers only. And there's assholes who'd always play little people. Ned, if you're listening, you're an asshole for playing Odd Job all the time.
Oh, God.
Next film. This is a film that kind of changed the world.
Changed the world?
Yeah, it came out in November the 4th. It came to 29 million opening weekend. It was by a little studio at the time, but they ended up getting bought by the big boy. And it's an animated film.
Oh, it's got to be Toy Story.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it was directed by Mr. Hug and Kiss himself.
See, for me, I always think of it as a 1996 movie because back then a lot of those films came out a year later or whatever. I think I may have said it earlier, but all the Jim Carrey films from the 1994 came out here in 1995.
Oh, really?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure that good at remembering shit. I mean, what's more to say about Toy Story? It's Toy Story.
Yeah.
Actually, I was wrong because when it came out, it was Disney. Then they left Disney and then went back to them, didn't they? So
Pixar was actually created by George Lucas, and it was part of Lucasfilm for a while.
Disney, they got bought by Disney at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they left them after their picture deal.
I don't know if they bought them or if they just they ended up just licensing all their films or something, or distributing their films. But I don't know how it quite works out. But I know companies started to use their RenderMan software, which was like their innovative software they used to create Toy Story with, and the company started to use it and stuff. But I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway,
it's fine. I like even about rendering software. I'm not actually joking.
I think you can get RenderMan for free now. I think it's open source now. I think so.
You should do a Toy Story. Do you think that would ever be a thing? You know how like people like to do kind of Soviet era cartoons?
That will happen.
Do you think people do like early Pixar style looking films?
And they'll do it in their own image or try and make it like the modern ones or something.
I want this to feel like a kind of, you know, Bug's Life era kind of
well, those two brothers, I think they completely recreated Toy Story with the actual Toy Story toys.
Oh my god!
And they used the script, so they completely remade it shot for shot. But it's like, have you ever seen that film? I forgot what it's called now. Is it like Raided or Raiders or something like that? And it's about these friends in the 80s. They remade Raiders shot for shot, and then they come. I think they never filmed one scene where it's like where the plane blows up or whatever. So they kind of all get back together to film. It. Yeah,
we'll do a documentary one day called Jurassic Park or whatever. I can't think of a pun title, Ollie.
What about my Jurassic Park that I never finished?
Yes, that was where I was going with it. When I was the only time I ever get to play a role in your films.
Man,
I played a raptor. I
was the most hungover I've ever been shooting that short film. I was high off the success of our little Ghostbusters short. I thought, I'm onto a winner here. And then I spent ages making all the dinosaurs, all the props, the costumes. And then the day before shooting, we went to our friend Paul's wedding. And I got completely and utterly...
Was that the day before? Wow.
Wasted. And like I've never been that drunk in my life, I don't think. It's Jamie's fault for doing rounds. And then you turned up. And I think it became even more rounds. And it just became a complete mess.
Shout out to Paul. He'll have to come on the pod, actually.
I woke up on my settee completely wet on my crotch, and I thought, have I pissed myself? But I hadn't. I was holding a glass of water in my hand, and I'd obviously poured it over myself.
Oh, I've done that. I my bed's got like a little shelf above me, so I tend to like stack glasses on it. And now and again, when I'm really hungover, I'm like reaching around to find out where, like, drunkenly, and put a glass of water, and I've just knocked the whole thing over onto me and stuff.
That I have not. You know, and you just feel, you look back at that day and you think, that was the worst. I'll never want to experience that day again. Not Paul's wedding, because I've been told by many accounts it was a good one.
It was a great day, yeah. I had a lovely time. I did.
Apparently, I was dancing a lot.
You will always dance a lot. It's not. Where were we?
What's next?
June the 23rd. Opens to 29 as well. It is the newest film in a franchise.
I
think it ends up being the top grossing film of the year. Yeah, it does. This is the one that has a second opening. So this is actually not its opening weekend. This is a week later. So it's that big that it still gets up there at number 4.
Okay. Have we spoken about this one already today?
We have.
It's Batman Forever.
It is. With a weird fucking cast. Val Kilmer is such an odd...
Apparently, like, him and Joel Schumacher just didn't get on.
Not surprised. I love Val Kilmer. I just don't see him as Bruce Wayne. We should watch Batman Forever.
Apparently, he's like a really weird person.
He's really intense, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Tombstone, he's fucking amazing.
Oh, and Heat, he's amazing in Heat as well.
Heat's this year as well, actually. Heat is
oh yeah,
fantastic film. Number 3 opening weekend. It's June the 23rd. So this came out the week after Batman Forever. It's Walt Disney.
Yeah,
that's your clue.
Well, so 94 was.
It's
Lion King, so the one after is Pocahontas.
Yes, I was going to say it's got a voice of a well-known anti-Semite in.
Who's in that?
It's Mel Gibson, isn't it? It's John Smith.
Oh. I thought, what's it was in that? I thought it was Christian Bale was in.
Yeah, Christian Bale's in it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He must have been quite. Oh, I got you know when you get like you've had a drink and you get that weird bubble in your throat and you're like, I just had that. Christian.
I like it when Ollie's off the leash a little bit.
Yeah, he was quite young. Must have been quite young in that film.
Must have been. Wasn't his first film that Christopher Columbus film?
I thought it was the Spielberg film.
I think I'm talking about the same one.
What? I'm thinking of.
Oh no, I'm wrong. I'm thinking of Conquest of Paradise, which is not a Spielberg film. You're thinking of the one with Jim Belushi. Is that it?
No, not 1941 or whatever. No, it's got John Malkovich in it.
Empire of the Sun.
That's the one.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Apparently, those three films just merge into my head. It's the same film.
I've never seen 1940. Is it 1941?
Dude, 1940 something. I've never seen it. I've never even heard anyone talk about it at any point.
It's in that book I've been reading, Wild and Crazy Guys, because it's got Dan Aykroyd and James
it is Dan
Belushi.
Aykroyd, isn't it? Ned Beatty, John Belushi.
They actually don't. They only share one scene together apparently in that film. But I still haven't seen it, so I want to check it out one day. But apparently it was like a massive like misfire for Spielberg after
Jaws, was it?
After Jaws and Close Encounters, yeah.
At 79, so maybe we can do it at 79 if we haven't.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, let's do that.
And we've done number one, so this is the last one. It's November 10th, 1995. It opens to 37 million, which is insane. It's a Warner Bros. Film, and it's a sequel, and it's a comedy.
It's a sequel, it's a comedy.
Yeah. Insane opening fucking.
So, I was going to say Major Payne, but I'm guessing it's not Major Payne.
No. It's a different director to the original, which is... They used to do that a lot with comedy sequels, especially when them churn them out a lot, but it's got the same star.
Okay. When did it come out? Sorry, what day?
November 10th.
If you tell me the star, will that like...
Yeah, you'll know the star. He's in another film this year, which I think he got paid the most for ever.
Oh! Is it Ace Ventura 2?
Yeah, When Nature Calls.
Yes.
What an insane opening weekend for a comedy film. 40 million, basically.
You know what other film came out that year that we forgot to mention?
What's that?
Hackers.
Did it?
I think
so. 95?
I think Hackers is... Or it could be the year after. Let's have a look. That film is amazing, though.
1995 film, yeah. I love that film. I love everything about that film. I love, like, cyberpunk, like, aesthetics. I love, like, the way they picture people who are into the internet.
Yeah, and they inline skate everywhere.
Yeah, and they all, they all have, like colours, tube colours, and tied to them, and like neon,
it's got a
neon
28
lacy
kbs
tops
modem.
Fucking love Matthew Lillard.
There's a woman in it, and I forgot who's the woman. Is it
what, Angelina Jolie?
Brasco? No, not her. But I swear all her lines are dubbed in the film because it just sounds bizarre. And Fisher Stevens is the villain.
Yeah, Fisher Stevens is the villain. Isn't he play the Plague?
Yeah, that's it, the Plague.
I kind of love Fisher Stevens. I kind of do. I know that he played an Indian, and that's the worst thing ever. But I don't know.
Did they actually paint him, or is he? Because he's quite a darker skinned guy anyway, but I know obviously he's not Asian.
No, he's not Indian. He's great in Lost. Fisher Stevens.
Oh yeah, is he one of the guys on the cargo ship?
Yeah. Big fan of
that episode he's in. Is it The Constant? No.
I don't know if it's when he first appears. It's been too long for Lost with me. I've never gone back to revisit it as well. But he's in it when it gets interesting for me, because I like the kind of Desmond stuff. I know Daniel Faraday stuff.
You know what we haven't mentioned?
I
Brian
don't.
Dennehy died.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, I know by the time this comes out, it would have been like, what, 3 weeks ago? And then we also forgot to mention Stuart Gordon died about what will be 6 weeks now. But
oh god, yeah. Well, we're not an obituary podcast.
no, that's true. But
Brian
no, I was a
Dennehy.
big fan of Stuart Gordon's films, like The Reanimator and
Yeah.
From Beyond were two of my favourite, like kitschy 80s horror films.
Reanimator's got one of my favourite actors actually. Oh my god, Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs. But he's in The Frighteners and he's amazing in The Frighteners.
He's wonderful, and in Star Trek he's the best. And I met him, and he was lovely, and he was very.
Have you
nice.
met him?
Yeah. It's one of the few Star Trek people I've actually met and had a chat to.
How was Picard, by the way? Because hasn't that finished now?
Yeah, it finished ages ago now, but yeah, it's wonderful, and it made me cry. And I
Really?
told my friend Robin that it made me cry, and she went, "Well, you cry at everything." So that was that. Like,
Fair enough. Right, we've been going for 2 hours and 4 minutes. I mean, I know a good 30 minutes of that is probably silence while we're trying to figure out our technical issues.
I just wanted to say, you said about the person being dubbed the whole film.
Oh, yeah.
Loads of Keith David in this felt like it was looped to me.
There was a scene in the car where Keith David and the main character are talking in the car, and I've got it in my notes. It looked looped.
It looked really badly looped, yeah. I was just like, did they change the dialogue or something? It's that bad.
It's probably because they were driving, and you can obviously see cars either side of them, and the sound
Yeah.
wasn't right, and it's just too noisy, so they had to re-loop it. So, but I mean, it's a common thing. Most films in Hollywood are loops, like every film,
It's
because
true.
you're in either a real location or, like for example, Lord of the Rings. I think that studio is right next to an airport, so all those films are completely loops. But you don't notice
I didn't notice that.
because the actors are good and they know what they're doing, and the sound people are good and they know what they're doing.
Sometimes when it's noticeable though, it's really noticeable. When it's kind of sometime when it's done badly, maybe is the way to put it.
Like Garth Marenghi.
Do you know how long it took me to find out Richard Ayoade was the same person as Garth Marenghi, and then Richard Ayoade later?
Do you know he directed all those as well, the Garth Marenghi episodes?
No, I didn't. No.
But it
That's
just
amazing.
proves how good of a director he is, and he's wasted on fucking Travel Man and
I hate that he just got turned into a boring
Crystal
fucking Channel
Maze.
4 boring person.
yeah, like his films
we
are really
waste
good.
British talent. We absolutely waste British talent in this country. We just
I know.
shove them into this easy to make money system and on TV, and it's fucking sad. Like,
It's like Submarine was so good, and even the double was good, and it's just like
yeah. I love Submarine a lot. I thought it was wonderful. The same I think the same thing about David Mitchell. He fucking wrote Cloud Atlas, and I love the film Cloud Atlas, and that's it. That's kind of it. Like,
it's not the save David Mitchell.
it is, isn't it? If it's
No.
not, I'll cut.
I'm pretty sure it's not. Let me have a look.
If it's no, it isn't. It isn't the same guy. Cutting this out.
I'm not cutting that out.
I'm cutting that out.
Obviously
What
was
did
good.
David Mitchell do that I like then?
He has
Persuade
got
us.
something coming out soon, I think, that looks interesting.
I'm sure he wrote a novel that's really good. Maybe it's partly Cloud Atlas I'm thinking of then. Well, it's not Cloud Atlas because it's a different fucking David Mitchell.
I don't know.
Well, there we stutter to a stop.
Anyway, so what are we talking about next week then?
We're not. It's the end
Leon?
of the podcast. That was it. It's the end. You giggling. I don't know what we're doing next week because I've lost my spreadsheet. Like...
I was trying to find that spreadsheet. I found the old one, not the newer one. Okay, Liam, so what are we watching next week?
Okay, next week we're going to Suburbia with our friend Richard Linklater,
Yeah.
which is his follow-up to Slacker. No, it's his follow-up
Days of
before.
Confused.
No, it's Before Sunrise.
Oh, was that after?
Yeah.
After, before the.
So it's Slacker, Days Confused, Before Sunrise, and then this. And I've never heard anyone talk about this film, frankly.
Hang on, I'm going to burp. I'm very sorry. Sorry.
Oh, this is the worst episode I've ever done.
No, it won't be. Once I've edited all the shit out, it'll be a good one.
No, that's staying in.
Right, okay. So are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, so don't forget you can follow us on Twitter. We're at Adjust Your Track with a YR, not a your. We're also on the Apple Podcast app now. We're on Spotify, so please rate, review, and subscribe. That'd be great. And don't forget, if the picture's bad, always adjust your tracking.